Okay, so the next topic that we are going to cover is list. So let's learn some basics in regards to list. So what is a list? List is a data structure that stores different types of variable, that can store different types of variable. Okay. List is a collection of different types of variables. So for example, I can write down the list members inside square brackets. Okay. List members needs to be initialized inside square brackets. So I can pass different values, right? 32, 45, 67, 89, 12. Okay. And I can pass different types of variables. Like I can put float. Okay. 114, 23.45. Or I can put string also. So for example, today is what, Tuesday. Okay. 12, 7, 8, 9, something like that. So list is a collection of different types of variables. Okay, list can be a collection of different types of variables. So let's see if I print these values, whether it is printing properly or not. So you can see that it is printing all the different values perfectly. All right. So list is a collection of different types of data types, different types of variables. Specifically, if we want to print, say, the second index, it is going to print, or if you want to print values of 2, it will print 67. Okay. So basically the index starts from 0. So this is the values of 0, this is values of 1, this is values of 2, and so on. Okay. If you want to change something, change any value, say values of 2, if you want to change to say 100, you can do so. Okay. So if you change value of 2 from 67 to 100, you can do so. All right. So that means list is mutable. In future, we are going to learn some other data structures also, which are not mutable. Okay, but list is mutable. You can change the elements. Okay, all data structures in Python are not mutable. Right? Okay. Now let's see. Let's learn different functions corresponding to list. Okay. So this program is basically summarize different basics. So let's learn some useful function. Okay. So suppose you want to find out the length of a list. What is the corresponding function? The corresponding function is len. Okay. So length of values will give you the number of elements that are there inside this list, which is 11. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay. All right. Now suppose you want to print all the elements. Okay, you can directly put print values. Otherwise, you can also print like this. So print, sorry, not print, for elements in values. Okay, for element in values, print elements. All right. This is going to print all the elements one after other. All right. So this is one way you can print the elements. All right. Or instead of printing, if you want to do something else with the elements, you can basically write for elements in values, do something with the corresponding elements. All right. Or instead of doing, or instead of printing in this way, you can also write like this: for I in length of values, print values of I. If I in range of length of values. Okay. Range of length of values, because the index will vary from 0 to length of values -1. So if I write range of length of values, then I will vary from 0 to length of values -1. Okay. So in this way also you can print or extract the elements list. Okay. Now let's see. Let's take another list, say scores equal to 10, 9, 5, 4, 3, 2, 9, 19. Okay. All right. Now you are writing val equal to score. Okay. So now if you print scores and print val, both of them should print the same list. That's okay. Now let's see. Suppose I'm changing scores of 2 to some different value, say 100. Okay. And now if I print scores and val, let's see what's happening. Okay. So here I have written val equal to score, and then I have printed it. Both of them are printing the same thing. That's okay. Now I am changing score of 2 to 100, and then I am printing both of this list. Let's see what's happening. So now you can see that after changing scores of 2 to 100, scores of 2 is changed to 100, but val of 2 is also changed to 100. Okay. Let's try to understand this very interesting phenomenon. I have written val equal to score and then changed score of 2 to 100, but that change is getting reflected in val also, because val of 2 is also changed to 100. Okay. So let's see what's happening. That's a very important property of list. Let's see. So this is very similar to this example. Okay. So here scores is equal to this, and then I have written values equal to scores. Okay. So whenever we write scores equal to this, basically score is pointing to the list. That means a list variable contains a reference to the list of contents. Okay. You need to understand that in a list, the list variable contains the reference or the address of the content. Okay. A reference to the list content means the location of the list content in the memory, or the address in the memory. Clear? So score stores the address of the list content, or score points to the list. So whenever I am writing values equal to score, I am copying the list reference. Okay. That means I am copying the list location or list address. All right. So whenever I am writing values equal to score, both of them are pointing to the same location in the memory. All right. And then whenever I am changing score of 3 equal to something, basically I am changing in the corresponding address or corresponding location. So even if I am printing values of 3, it is basically printing the value from the same location. Okay. So in a list, if you copy the reference, then any change in one of the list is going to get reflected within the other list, because both are pointing to the same list. So whenever you are writing scores equal to this, that means this is score is basically the reference to the list element. Score is the reference to the list element. So whenever you are writing value equal to score, you are copying the reference. All right. So that's why whenever you are making this change is made in the corresponding memory location where val is also referring to. That means if we are printing val, you are basically extracting the same set of elements. Okay, this is a very important property of a list. All right. Okay, so the next question is, suppose I want to just copy the values, not the reference. Here it is basically copying the reference. Okay, here it is only copying the reference. But suppose there may be scenarios where I only need to work with the values. That means from one list I want to copy the value, and then I will work with that list independently. All right. So there may be situations where I need to copy only the value and then I want to make change on that corresponding list. I do not want to disturb this list. Okay. So for scores, suppose I want to make new scores, and I want to only copy the values. Okay. So in that case, you need to write list within bracket scores. Okay, that means it is only going to copy the values. Let's see whether that solves the problem or not. So now I am saying let score of 2 equal to say 500, and now if I print scores and if I print new scores, you will see that print of score was equal to its remains in its previous value, but print of new score has changed because new score of 2 has been changed to 500. Okay, so whenever I have written new scores equal to list of score, it has copied only the value and not the reference. Clear? So that means any change in this list will not get reflected in the other list. So here you are basically copying the reference, here you are copying the values. Okay, this is a very subtle difference, but this is a very important difference that you need to remember. Okay, in the list, writing something like -2 is valid. Okay, so if you print scores of -2, basically it is going to give you the second element from the end. Okay, which is basically 2. Sorry, second element from the end is 2. Okay, -4 is going to be 4 because fourth element from the end is 4, something like that. Okay, so this kind of syntax is also valid in list. All right, now let's learn some list operations. So suppose I want to create a list of my friends. All right, so I'll start with an empty list. Empty list looks like this: square bracket where there is nothing. This is called empty list. Okay. Now as I'm going to encounter different friends, I'm going to add the friend in my list. Okay, till now I've shown you how to initialize list element, how to change particular list element, how to copy list reference, and how to copy the values of a list. Till now, I didn't show you how to add elements to a list. Okay, so let's see from an empty list if how I can gradually add elements to the list. So the corresponding function is, or corresponding operation is, append, friends.append. Okay, suppose I want to add some element to a list, I can write friends.append, say Harry. Okay? Suppose I have started with no friends and then I am gradually meeting new people, so I am making new friends. Okay, so friends.append Harry is going to add this element to this list. Okay. Suppose I am adding a few more friends, so friends.append is, say, Emily. Friends.append is Bob. Friends.append is Carol. Okay. Suppose I have added 4 different friends. All right. So let's see if I print friends, what's happening. So now you can see that 4 elements has been added in my list. Okay. All right. Now the append function will only add elements to the end of the list. Okay. First I have added Harry. Then whenever I have appended Emily, Emily is added at the end of the list. Next Bob was added. Next Carol was added. Okay. If I add one element, it will be added after Carol. So append function only inserts or append the element in the end of the list. Okay. All right. Suppose I do not want to add something to the end of the list. So suppose I want to add something over here. After Harry, I want to add a friend. How can I do this? I need to use insert function. Okay. So in the insert function, first you need to check where you want to insert, and then you need to pass what element you want to insert. Say I want to insert Cindy in the 1th place. Let's see what happened. So now we can see that Cindy is added in the 1th place. This is the 0th index. This is the 1th index. Okay. So both append and insert adds element to a list, but append inserts the or adds the element in the end of the list. Whereas if you want to insert an element in a particular location, you need to use insert function. Insert, the first element is where you want to add, second element is what you want to add. Okay, there is only a very small difference between append and insert. Append always inserts at the end, and insert function inserts at any particular location. Okay. All right. Now let's see how you will check whether an element is in the list, in a list or not. Okay. How can you check whether a particular element is in the list or not? Say, suppose you want to check whether Cindy is in this list or not. How can you check it? The corresponding syntax is Cindy in list. Cindy in your list name friend. Okay, if Cindy is in this list, it is going to return true, otherwise it is going to return false. Okay, so let's print it. So it is going to return true because Cindy is indeed in the list. Okay, if I write Cindy Junior in friend or not, it is going to return false because this element is not part of the list. All right. Suppose I want to find out the index of a particular element. Okay. So for example, suppose I want to find out the index of Emily. Okay, in which index Emily is stored. The corresponding function is friends the list name dot index index. Here you can pass the element Emily. Okay, friends dot index whatever element you want to uh, search for. So if I print, it should give you 2 because 0 1 2. Okay, the index number 2 holds the value Emily or the element Emily. Okay, all right. So in this way you can check whether an element is there in the list or not, and if at all it is in the list, what is the corresponding index. Now let's see. All right, so till now we have seen that how to insert or append elements to a list. How can we remove the element? So there comes the pop function. If I want to remove some element, I can write friends.pop. Okay, so suppose I want to remove Cindy from the list, so I need to pass the index friends.pop in the index number. So let's see. So now you can see that Cindy is removed from the list. Okay, all right. Now let's see. Suppose there are two friend list, my friend list and some others friend list, say your friends, that consist of some elements like Lee, something like that. Okay, so I have two lists, my friend list which consist of these elements and your friend list which consist of these elements. Okay, how can I combine this that two? Okay, suppose I want to merge my friend list with your friend list. Okay, how can I do so? Okay, I can do this using the plus operator. Okay, it is going to merge two lists. All right, so this plus operator is an addition operator in a mathematical sense. In the context of string, it is concatenation operator. In the context of list, it is merging two list. It will merge two list. Okay, so I can write friends equal to friends plus your friend. Okay, let's see. So you can see that Lee, Pat and Fong is also added in my friend list. Okay, now let's learn some other operation. So you have learned how to add elements, how to remove element, how to search for element, how to search for the corresponding index and all those things. Okay, let's learn replication or repetition operator. Okay, so suppose I'm writing n equal to 1 2 3 and then I'm writing star 10. Okay, what does this mean? Let's print and check. So if I print n now, we can see that 1 2 3 is repeated or replicated 10 times. Okay, so suppose you want to initialize a list with say 20 zeros. Okay, you can write 0 0 0 0 0 20 times, otherwise you can simply write 0 star 20. Okay, then it is going to basically initialize your list with 20 zeros. There. Okay, next you have equality operator. say to list 1 4 9 is equal to another list 1 4 9 and 10 or not. Okay, if these two lists are equal, then it is going to return true, otherwise it is going to return false. Let's see. So if I print, it is going to return false because these two lists are not equal. Okay. When these two lists are equal, it is going to return true. Okay. In fact, if I interchange the order, then also it is going to return false. Okay, because it is basically going to match element by element. Clear? Okay. Other than that, you have functions like minimum, maximum, sum of the element, and all those things. Okay. So let's take a simple example. N equal to 1, 4, and 5. Print sum of n, minimum of n, maximum of n. So if I print it, the sum is going to be 10, minimum is 1, maximum is 5. Okay. So all these functions you can use. And not only that, this minimum and maximum function also works in the context of strings also. Okay. So suppose your list consists of different strings, say red, so it consists of different name of the people. Now if you print minimum of x, okay, that means it is going to return n. All right, because we have learned that in the context of string consists of different characters, and the characters are determined by their ASCII value, which have the same order, same alphabetical order. Okay, so as A comes first, the minimum of x is going to be follow the same order. The n is going to be the minimum. Okay. All right. Now let's see what other functions we can write. So there are functions for sorting the elements of a list. Okay. So for example, x equal to 10, 60, 1, 23, 45, minus 99, something like that. So x dot sort is going to sort the elements of a list. Okay. Now if you print x, it is going to give you the sorted elements in increasing order. All right. Okay. So in the last class, we are learning some basics of, or we have learned some basics of list. All right. So in this class, I'm going to start with some examples of a list. All right. So let me open a file called list. And let me add the configuration. Okay. So let's first write a simple program that takes inputs from the user and then put it in a list. Okay. So suppose there is an empty list. Empty list you can write in this fashion, and then suppose the program is asking the user to enter some values one after other. Okay, and then whenever the user is entering, the values are added onto this list. All right, so you have learned the use of append function or insert function, how you can append the values to a list. Okay, so let's use that concept over here. So Suppose the program is asking the user to enter the value, okay, and the value is stored in a variable called user input. And suppose the it is going to ask the user to enter it one after one, enter the values repeatedly until unless the user is going to enter some special characters, say q. Okay, if whenever the user will enter q, that means it is going to quit. All right, before that it will keep asking the user to enter the value, enter the value, enter the value. All right, so that means while user input is not equal to q, um, the values that user is going to input needs to be appended. Okay, so it is going to append the user input. So let's suppose or let's assume that the user is entering some floating points. Okay, so let me just convert it, the user input which is in string format to floating point format, and then append it to the list. All right, and then again it is going to ask the user to enter his next input. Okay, so initially it will ask the user to enter the value, and then if the value is not equal to q, then it is going to convert it to float and then append it to the list, and then it is going to again ask the user to enter the value. If it is q, then it is going to come out of the loop. If it is not q, it will convert it to float and then append it with this list, and this process will keep going. Okay, all right, so at the end let's print the values. Okay, so let's run the program and see whether it is working perfectly or not. So enter the value, say 56, 78, 23, 57, 89, 109, 115, and then let's enter q. So you can see that a list is created by appending all the numbers one after other. Okay, and it is currently in floating point format because I have converted it to float. There. Okay, now let's modify this program to find out the maximum value that I am entering. Okay, so find out the largest element that I have entered. All right, one simple way is to use the max function, but for the timing let's assume that I'm not going to use the max function. Basically I want to traverse through the elements one after other, and then I want to find out which one is the largest element. All right, so let's declare a variable largest which will store the first value, which is the 0th value. Okay, so the first value, let's assume that the first value is the largest, and then it is going to traverse through the list, and then we check whether the values in the list is larger than the largest value or not. Okay, so let's see. So for I in range of 1 to length of values, it is going to check if values of I is greater than the largest value or not. If yes, then the largest will be changed to the values of I. Okay, and that's it. So at the end of all the iterations, it is going to print the largest element is largest. So let's see. So enter the value, say 1000, enter the value 12, 3, 4, 5, 5, 6, 7, 7, 8, 9, 7, 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, 8.765, and then let's enter q. So all the element of the list is printed, and then the largest element is 7896, okay, which is indeed the largest element. Clear? And in this way you can traverse through the list and find out whatever special element you want to find out. Here I have found out the largest element. You can find out the smallest element, or suppose you want to check whether a particular element is there in a list or not. In that case also you can traverse through the list and will check whether the values is equal to that particular number. Then it is going to print something, otherwise it is not going to. It is going to say that the item is not found or something like that. Okay, so by showing this example, I basically trying to demonstrate that how you can traverse to the element of a list. Clear? Okay, so this is just a simple program just to start with some examples of a list. Next, let's use the list data structure and do some plotting, graph related plotting. Okay, suppose I want to plot the graph of a sine curve and a cos curve, okay, or sine series or a cos series. So basically I want to store the values corresponding to different angle of sine series in a list, and then I'm going to plot it. Okay, so let's do some plotting by using list data structure. So let's name it say sine cos curve. I'm going to I want to plot the series of sine and cos functions. Let's add the configuration. Okay. So suppose I want to plot the series of sine and cos in between degrees, say minus 180 to plus 180. Okay. In between these 2 degrees, I'm going to plot the values. All right. So for plotting, I need to import some function. Okay, so here I'm going to import pyplot function from the tool or from the package matplotlib. Okay, you have already installed the package in some of the previous classes, so it should be installed in your machine. So from matplotlib import pyplot. Okay, and in addition to that I will use the sine cos function. So I need to import them from the math package. So from math import, I'm going to use sine cos and also the value of pi I need to convert from degree to radian. Okay, so let's first only concentrate on sine series. Okay, later on I'm going to plot cos series. Okay, first only plot the sine series. So sine of y, okay, because sine the values will be plotted in the y-axis. Let's assume that it is an empty list, and then the x-axis values is also initialized as an empty list. Okay, so x-axis will keep track of the degrees in radian, and the y-axis will plot the sine values. All right, let's see. So I'm going to change the angle from minus 180 to plus 180. Okay, so let's start with minus 180, and then while angle is less than equal to plus 180, first I need to convert from degree to radian. Okay, 18 plus minus 180 plus 180 all is minus 180 and plus 180 degree are basically in degree form. I need to convert to radians. Okay, so 180 degrees equal to pi radian, right? So that means 1 degree is pi by 180, and then that means if I say d degree is equal to pi by 180 into d. All right, so that's it. So this formula I'm going to use. All right, okay. So let's assume that S is I'm representing x to represent the angle in degree format. Okay, so x equal to pi by 180 into angle. Okay, that's it. So this is going to convert from degree to radians. Right, I basically use the same formula, pi by 180 into degree. All right, okay. So then after converting it to radian, I'm going to add this to this list, because the x-axis will keep track of the degrees in radian format. So x-axis dot append x. Okay, now I need to find out the sine values. So y equal to sine of x. Okay, so here I am using the sine function which takes radian format. Okay, so I have already converted the angle to radian format, and then I am passing it to sine function. All right, and then after that I'm going to add this value to this list. Okay, so sine y dot append y. All right, so that's it. So after I come out of this loop, the x-axis, this list will keep track of all the degrees in radian format. This list will keep track of all the y-axis values corresponding to the sine series. So now I have the x-axis values, y-axis values. Now I need to plot. Okay, so how can I plot it? Using this pi plot tool, I simply need to write pi plot dot plot, and here I need to pass the x-axis values and y-axis values. So x-axis comma y-axis, not y-axis, y-axis, then corresponding list is sine y. Okay, that's it. And then I need to put pi plot dot show. Okay, so let's see whether it is plotting the things correctly or not. Okay, I made one mistake. Basically, I have initialized the variable, I have put the condition checking, but I didn't increment. So I need to write angle equal to angle plus 1. If I increment it by 1, otherwise you can increment by 5, 10, whatever you want. Now let's see. So now you can see that it has plotted the sine series. Okay, so corresponding to degree 0, the value is 0. Well, plus 180 degree correspond to plus pi, which is of value 3.14. So at 3.14, that is plus, in plus pi, the value is 0. In minus pi, that means in minus 3.14, the value is also 0. And then pi by 2, when it is pi by 2, which is around 3.14 by 2, it is sine, the sine value is 1. When it is minus pi by 2, it is minus 1. Okay. So this is plotting the sine series correctly. Okay, so let's beautify this picture a little bit. So suppose I want to add grid lines. So I can write pi plot dot grid lines on. Okay, in that case it is going to plot this, but it is going to include the grid lines. All right, so you can see it clearly that at the point 0 it is 0, 3.14 it is 0, minus 3.14 it is 0, and in this way you can basically see the points clearly. Okay. All right. Now let's add some axis labels. So suppose this is in degree, this is in, and this axis is the sine values or something like that. Okay. So how can I do so? I can write pyplot dot x label. You will see x label is there. Pyplot dot x label, and then you can write angle pyplot dot y label. You can write sine series. Okay. So x label is angle, y label is sine series. Clear? Okay. Now let's see. Let's add cos series also over here. So after plotting the sine series, the cos series including the cos series is pretty easy. Similar to the sine series, you will initialize one empty list cos y, and then you can write y equal to cos of x, and then cos y dot append y. And then here, in addition to plotting the sine series, you can also plot x-axis cos of y. Okay, that's it. So let's see whether it is working perfectly or not. So you can see that in addition to the sine series, the cos series is also plotted. And whenever it comes to cos series is of cos 0 is 1, cos pi is -1, cos minus pi is also -1. Okay. So here I just need to change the axis title. As I have included the cos series, I need to write sine and cos in the y-axis. Okay. So in this way, you can check that, or you can see how we can plot different sine series, cos series, tan series using the pyplot or a matplotlib library. Okay. Okay. So now let's learn something or some relation between list and function. Okay, how we can pass a list to a function and how we can change those values inside a function and all those things. Okay, so let's see the connection between list and function. Okay. So function list. Okay, so first let's start with a simple example. So let's write a function that is going to take some input from the user. Okay, previously I practiced similar example, but now let's write a function, and inside the function it is going to take the inputs from the user. All right. Okay, so let's write a function called read numbers. Okay, so it is going to read or take some numbers from the user, and suppose it is taking the number of inputs that the user is going to enter. Suppose it is going to enter the grade of all the students. So I know the number of students. I'm going to pass how many times it needs to take the input from the user. Okay. So inputs will be initialized to an empty list, and then for I in range of number of inputs, I can write, or it is going to ask the user to enter the number, and this needs to be converted to say floating point. Okay. And assume that a variable name is storing this, and then I can write inputs dot append num. Okay. So that means if I pass 5, that means it is going to iterate 5 times. Every time it is going to ask the user to enter the number, and then whatever number the user is going to enter will be converted to float and will be stored to num variable, and then this num variable will be appended to the list inputs. Clear? And then at the end it is going to return the list named inputs. Clear? Okay. Let's see whether it is working properly or not. So let's call this function. Suppose I want to take 5 inputs, and then whatever list is passed from this function is stored in this list. Now I want to print the numbers. Okay. All right. So let's add the configuration. Function list. So enter the number 10, 45, 23, 67, 12. So you can see that it is printing all the number perfectly. Okay, that means inside the function only it has taken the number, appended it to the list, and then it has returned the list successfully. Clear? Okay, now let's add more detail. So suppose I want to multiply all these numbers by 10. Okay, suppose I want to multiply all these numbers in the list by 10. So I'm writing a function called multiply, where I'm passing this list and also I'm passing 10, which is basically a multiplication factor. That means all the numbers in this numbers list will be multiplied by 10. Okay. So let's see how we can write this function. So, function definition multiply, and then let's call the list values, and let's call this variable as factor because it is a multiplication factor. Okay. So for I in range of length of values, I'm writing values of I equal to values of I multiplied by factor. Okay. All right. Let's see that whatever change I am making over here is getting reflected whenever I am coming back from coming out of this function or not. Okay. Suppose I am printing these numbers in this place. Okay. So the point is I'm making these changes in this inside this function. So the point is whenever I'm coming out of this function and printing over here, whether the change that I am making is getting reflected in this numbers list or not. Okay, let's see. So enter the number 10, 34, 56, 23, 67. So you can see that whenever I'm printing over here, the entire list is printed. But whenever I'm printing these numbers on the second time, you can see that all the numbers is indeed multiplied by 10. That means whatever change I am making over here is getting reflected whenever I'm coming out of this function. Okay, that's a very interesting property. Okay, and the reason is that whenever I am calling this function by passing these numbers, that means I am passing the reference, and this reference is stored inside the values. Okay, and then whenever I'm making these changes, these changes are made in the same memory location where numbers is pointing to. Clear? So let me just describe it in a pictorial manner. So suppose this scores is a list that is pointing over here, and then you are writing values equal to scores. Okay, so both of values and scores are pointing to the same location. All right, now whenever you are multiplying values by 10, that means you are multiplying the values in the same location where score is pointing to. Okay, so basically the change is going to be reflected in scores also. All right, so here basically numbers is equivalent to scores in this slide. Okay, so both scores and values are pointing to the same location because I am basically passing the reference. And whenever I am writing values of I equal to values of I multiplied by 10, that means the place where I am making the change is pointed to by scores also. So the change is getting reflected in scores as well. Clear? So that's a very important property that you need to understand. Whenever you are passing a list from a function, you are passing the reference. Okay, so this reference is same as the reference that values is pointing to. Okay, or the reference is copied to values. So whenever you are making the changes in values, you are basically making the changes in the same location where number is pointing to. Okay, so that's why the changes whatever you are making over here will be reflected in this place as well. Okay, all right, now let's see. Suppose after that I want to write a function called, say, print reverse. That means it is going to print the list but in a reversed format. So here I am passing this the same list. So let's write the function print reverse, is taking the list. Let's call it values. And then if I want to print it in a reverse format, I need to start from the end of the list. Okay. That means I need to start from length of values minus 1. Okay, so then basically I need to start from the end and then I need to traverse till I reach to the front of the list. Okay, so while I is greater than equal to 0, I'm going to print the values of I, and then I need to do I equal to I minus 1. Okay, because I'm traversing in the reverse format. Clear? I've started from the end and then I'm checking whether I have reached at the front of the list or not. If not, I'm printing the values and then decrementing I. Clear? Let's see. So enter the number 123, 25, 67, 12. So you can see that now it is printing the list in a reverse format. So here by showing this example, I basically tried to summarize the connection between list and function. Okay, and the most important point is basically this function. Whenever you are passing the name of the list, basically you are passing the reference. So the change that you will make inside this function will get reflected even if you come out of the function. Now let's see. Let's take another example. So let's see how we can rearrange the order of different numbers in a list. Okay, so let's see. So suppose I gave you a list which looks like this. Okay, now suppose I want you to write a program that will rearrange the list member in this format. That means the first half of the list, first half means the first 4 numbers in a list will go at the end, and the last 4 numbers will come at the front. Okay, so let's write a program that is going to rearrange the order of the numbers in such a way that the first half will go to the last half and the second half or the last half will come to the first half. Okay, so let's see. So basically the first half and second half will be interchange. Okay, so let's call it interchange Python. Okay, so let's initialize the list with the corresponding numbers 9, 13, 21, 4, 11, 7, 1, 3. So 9, 13, 21, 4, 11, 7, 1, 3. Okay, and I want to interchange the first half with the second half. All right. Okay, so before doing that, I need to explain how we can swap two variables in this list. Okay, so first, before solving this problem, first let's learn how to swap two values. Okay, so suppose I want to swap values of say 1 with values of 5. Okay, suppose I want to swap 13 with 7. All right, so I want to swap values of 1 with values of 5. How can I do so? So you can swap two variable by using a third variable. Okay, so suppose I want to swap values 1 with values 5. So I will bring the third variable say temp, which is first going to store the values of 1, and then values of 1 will be equal to the values of 5, and then the values of 5 is going to be equal to temp. Okay, so now if I print values, let's see whether the interchange has taken place or not. So now if you see the list, you will see that values of 1 is now 7 and values of 5 is now 13. That means the values of 1 and 5 is swapped. Okay, so how this is working? First I am copying the values of 1 to temp. That means first temp is going to be equal to values of 1, which is 13. Okay. Next I am writing values of 1 is equal to values of 5. That means values of 1 is equal to values of 5. So values of 5 is 7. And then at the end, values of 5 is equal to temp. So now temp is 13. Okay. So then after this line, values of 1 is going to be equal to 7 and values of 5 is going to be equal to 13. So now we can see that the values are swapped. Clear? So to swap two variables, you need a third variable, and then you can rearrange the values by writing these 3 lines. Clear? Okay. So let's use this idea to solve this problem. Okay, in this problem, instead of swapping one number or instead of swapping just two numbers, I'm going to swap the first half with the second half. Okay. All right. So let's see how we can solve this. So first, let's write a function called swap, where I am going to pass the pass one list, say A, and then I'm going to pass the index, two indices I and J. Basically, I want to interchange the order of the ith element with the jth element of the list A. Clear? All right. So how I can do so? It's exactly same as whatever I have written over here. Temp equal to A of I equal to A of J, and then A of J will be equal to 10. Okay, that's it. I basically written this in the form of a function, This function is taking the list name and the ith element and the jth element that you want to swap. All right. Okay. So now I need to use this function to swap the first half of this list with the second half. Okay. So let's bring two variables I and j. So I is going to be the index of the first half of the list. So I will start from 0, and j is going to be the index of the second half of the list. So j is going to start from length divided by, or sorry, length of values divided by 2. Okay, length of values integer division 2. All right, because if length is odd, then this is going to be a fractional number, but the index cannot be fractional. So I will start with length of values integer division 2. Clear? So that means after these two lines, I is going to point to this element, j is going to point to 11. So I is going to point to the first element of the first half, j is going to point to the first element of the second half. That means I can interchange the ith element with the jth element at this point. Okay, and then I need to write a loop where I am going to move I in this direction, j in this direction, and then I'm going to do the swap operation again and again. Clear? So let's see. So while I is less than length of values divided by integer division 2. Okay, basically I'm going to move I from here to here. Okay, and then I need to do the swap operation with the corresponding j's. Clear? All right, so let's see. So I is less than length of values divided by 2, swap values I j. Okay, basically I am calling this function where I am passing the list name and the ith element and the jth element that I need to swap. So initially 0th element will be interchanged with the length of values divided by 2, this element, that means, which is basically 11. Okay, length is 8, 8 by 2 is 4, that means 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that means the first value of the first half will be interchanged with the first value of the second half. Clear? And then I need to increment I by 1 and j by 1 as well. That means in the next iteration I will move to this location, j will move here. That means 13 is going to be swapped by 7. Okay, in the next iteration I will move to this location, j will move to this location, so 21 will be swapped by 1. In the last iteration I will move here, j will move here, so 4 will be swapped with 3. That's it. And then after that I is going to be equal to length of values divided by 2. That means it is going to come out. Okay, so let's see whether it is working perfectly or not. So you can see that at this point the second half of the list came to the first half and the first half of the list becomes the second half. Okay, so here we have learned how to swap different values in the list, and not only independent values, we can swap a portion of the list with another portion of the list also if you want. Clear? Okay, now let's see. So till now we are only dealing with one-dimensional list. Okay, so if you consider values, it is storing a series of values, variables, but it is storing it in one dimension. Okay, now let's learn how we can represent two-dimensional list. Okay, so here is an example where so two-dimensional list is also called table. Okay, two-dimensional list are also called table because two-dimensional list means it looks like this, which is basically looks like a table. Clear? So let's see. So in this table we can see that a list of countries and how many uh, gold, silver, and bronze these countries have received in an Olympics, say for example. Okay, how many medals they have got. Okay, so this is basically a table of the list of countries and the corresponding medals they have got. Okay, so let's write a program where we can store the list of medals that has been got by different that has been owned by different countries, and then let's first print these things in this format. Print the medals and the corresponding countries in this format. Clear? Next we are going to do some operation on top of it. Okay, so basically let's print these values, the number of medals, in a two-dimensional list format, and then let's print all these things in this format. All right. Okay, so let me open a file called, say, medals. So there are, if you look into the slides, there are 3 types of medals, and the number of countries are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so there are 8 countries and 3 types of medals. So medals is 3, countries is 8. So let's write down the name of the countries in a list. So name of the countries are Canada, Italy, Germany, Japan, and then Kazakhstan, Russia, South Korea, and United States. Russia. Okay. All right. Now let's see. So now I need to add all the medals, all the medal counts in a list. But in this case, it is going to be a two-dimensional list. Okay. Basically, I am going to add all the number of medals in a list. But in this case, it is going to be two-dimensional list. Okay. So how can I write a two-dimensional list? So I write a one-dimensional list inside a square bracket. So a two-dimensional list is nothing but a list of one-dimensional list. Okay, you can think it as a list of one-dimensional list. That means in a one-dimensional list, you write the elements. Okay, here also we are going to write the elements, but here the elements will be in a one-dimensional list. So in this format, there are 8 countries. Corresponding to each and every country, you will create a list. Okay, so two-dimensional list is basically a list of one-dimensional list. Clear? Here, each and every element is basically one-dimensional list. You can think it in this way. A two-dimensional list is nothing but a list of one-dimensional list, where one element is basically a one-dimensional list. That's it. Okay. So the first one-dimensional list, or the first element, will store the medals corresponding to Canada, which is 0, 3, 0. That means I can put 0, 3, 0 over here. Okay. Second one-dimensional list will store the medals of Italy, which is 0, 0, 1. So 0, 0, 1. Next is 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 0. Okay. So 0, 1, 1, 0, 0. Next, Kazakhstan is also 0, 0, 1, 3, 1, 1. So 0, 0, 1, 3, 1. Then the last two are 0 1 0 1 0 1 0 1 0. Okay, that's it. So in this way you can initialize a two-dimensional list or a table. Okay, so let's see. So I have already stored the countries and the counts. Now let's see how I can print them. Okay, so print, first I'm going to print the country. Okay, so I'm going to print country over here, gold, silver, bronze. Okay, country, there is some space, gold, there is some space, there is some space, bronze. Okay, and then so this is going to be the first line that I want to print. First line I want to print country, gold, silver, bronze, and then second line I want to print Canada, the corresponding medals, Italy, the corresponding medals, and in this way. Okay, so let's see. So this table I want to print in the form of a using a loop. Okay, because there are a number of elements. Instead of printing manually line by line, I'm basically going to use a loop. So for I in range of countries, because this loop is going to iterate 8 times as there are 8 countries. First I'm going to print the country name. Okay, Canada. So first I'm going to print the country name. So print %s. I'm going to print countries of I. Okay, and then after that I cannot put a or I need to the thing is I cannot go to the next line. Okay, Canada, then I need to print the number of then I need to print 3 medals. So I cannot go to the next line. Okay, so I can do it by writing end equal to null. Okay, that's it. So print the country name, and then I am not going to go to the next line. Okay, and then I need to give some space. Okay, because country name space gold space silver, number of silvers space number of bronze, something like that. So let's put some space that I am going to adjust later on. Okay, let's put 10. Okay, and then corresponding to each and every country I need to print 3 medals. Okay, a number of 3 medals that the country has received. So for J in range of medals, I'm going to print the corresponding medal. So print %set in D. I'm going to print counts of I j. Okay, so here notice that instead of a one-dimensional list I am printing the elements of a two-dimensional list. So counts of ij means ith row and jth element. Okay, so this is 0th row, this is going to be the 0th row. Okay, this is going to be the 1th row, 2nd row, 3rd row, in this way. So this is going to be the 0th row 0th element. Okay, this is going to be 0th row 1 element. This is going to be the 1 1. So this is 0 0 0 1 1 1 1 1 1 0 1 1 1 2 in this way. Okay, all right. So let's see. And then here also I cannot go to the next line. Then at the end I'm going to give 1 line. Okay, so let's see whether it is working perfectly or not. Okay, So now you can see that it is printing country and the number of medals that each and every country has received, but uh, there is some space related issues. Okay, so these things we can adjust manually a little bit. You can see that now it is much better. Okay, so let's put it say 15 because it is taking more space. Okay, so now it is it is looking slightly better. So you can play with the corresponding spacing. Okay, so now it is looking much better. Clear? All right, but at least the logic is should be clear. Okay, so whenever I am writing count of ij, it is going to print the ith row and jth element. So this is going to be count of 0 0, count of 0 1, count of 0 2. This is count of 1 0, count of 1 1, count of 1 2. Okay, and in this way the corresponding values are going to be corresponding counts are going to be printed. Okay, now let's see. So now I want to uh, add something on top of it. So suppose I want to add another column called total. Okay, how many total how many medals each and every countries have received, and here I am going to add the number of medals and we'll put it under the total column. All right, so let's see how I can modify the program. So here I am adding another column called total, and then corresponding to each and every countries I'm going to initialize a variable total equal to 0, and then here I am basically writing total equal to total plus counts of I j. Okay, that means corresponding to the ith country, for every j I am adding the corresponding number of medals. Okay, and then I am going to print the total over here, percent say 15d, and I am not writing end equal to null because after the total I want the control to go to the next line. So now we can see that the total column has come. Okay, I need to adjust the space a little bit. So the total column is come over here and it is totaling the number of medals and writing it over here. Okay, so corresponding to this column you can see that 3 plus 1 plus 1 is 5, so it is printing 5. Okay, so in this way we can basically play with this table. Okay, and again you can change the entries as well. So suppose after initializing this list, suppose say USA has got another gold, for example. So counts of 7 0 equal to counts of 7 0 plus 1 because it has got another gold. Okay, suppose Canada has got another gold after this initialization. So counts of 0 0 is counts of 0 0 plus 1. That's it. So if I run this, so you will see that initially USA has got 1 gold, now it has incremented to 2. Canada, previously there was no gold, so now it has got 1 gold. Okay, so you can basically change the table entries or modify this table entries as the corresponding values will change. Okay, now let's see. So let's delete some of the previous programs. Okay, now let's quickly run another very similar data structures, which is tuple. Okay, tuple is very similar to list, but there is a very small difference between tuple and list. Okay, so let's learn what is a tuple and what is the difference between tuple and a list. So tuple example. Okay, so when I we are discussing list basics, we have learned that list stores a bunch of numbers or a bunch of variables that may be of different types. So whenever I am initializing the variables, I was writing values equal to or list name equal to the values are stored inside two square bracket, right? In tuple, the numbers is a tuple. The values are stored inside a first bracket. Okay. Suppose I am storing 5, 10, 15 or so. This is stored inside square bracket. Okay. And then tuple will work exactly similar to the list. So let me just add the configuration. So this will be exactly similar to the list. Okay, so whenever I'm printing the numbers, it is going to be printed. And similar to the list, I am also I can also print each and every members. So for example, print of numbers of, okay, so if I print it, it is going to print 15 because 0, 1, 2 is going to be 15. All right, so till now everything is similar to the list. So what is the difference? The difference is as follows. Suppose I want to change one element. Say for example, suppose I want to change from 10 to 20. Okay, so if I write number of 1 equal to say 20, then let's see whether it is working or not. So you can see that it is giving an error. Okay, the tuple object does not support item assignment. Okay, so in case of tuple, you cannot, once it is initialized, you cannot change the entries. Okay, so tuple is not mutable. Clear? Sorry, tuple is not mutable. Okay, so that is the main difference between list and tuple. Okay, in case of a list, you can basically change the values of 2 equal to 10. Okay, I think I should have written list is mutable over here. So in case of list, you can basically change the corresponding values corresponding to a list. Okay, in tuple, once it is initialized, you cannot change the value. So tuple is not mutable, list is mutable. Okay, that's the key difference between list and tuple. Okay, list is mutable, you can make the changes and it didn't give any error. Tuple is not mutable, you cannot change it. Clear? All right, so let's write a program that is going to take the input from the user, and let's assume that the input is a date. Okay, so let's write a program, say read, or let's write a function called read date, from the, where it is going to take the today's date from the user and store it in a tuple. Okay, so read date is going to be a function that is going to take the inputs, take the corresponding date, month and year, and then it is going to return a tuple which is going to be stored inside this date tuple. Okay, so let's write a function read date. It is going to print, say, enter the date. Okay, and then it is going to ask enter the, say, month. So whatever, suppose you are entering it in the form of an integer, so it is going to convert it to an integer and store it in the variable month. Then it is going to ask the day, so it will convert it to an integer again and store it in a variable named day, and then year. We convert it to an integer and store it in the variable year. Okay. Now you are going to combine all these three and put it in the form of a tuple and then return it. So how can I do? How can you do so? You can simply write return. Within first bracket you can write month, day, and year. Okay. So if you write this, this is going to return tuple. Okay. And this will be stored in date, which is basically also a tuple. Okay. So let's see. So print, if I print date, so it is asking me to enter the month. So today is March, so 3, today's date is 8 or 9, and then the year is 2021. So it is printing 3/9/2021, 9th March 2021. Okay. All right. Now suppose I want to store the month, day, and year separately. Okay, it is returning a tuple, but suppose I want to store the month, year, and day separately. So how can I do so? I can simply write read date, but instead of writing date equal to this, I can write month, day, year is equal to this. Okay. So if you write in this way, that means the first element of the tuple will be stored in month, second element will be stored in day, third element will be stored in year. Okay. So now if you print month, day, year, then it should be printed separately. Okay. So this is for the first time I called this function. Now it is again asking me. So I am also entering 3/9/2021. So now you can see that now it is printed month, day, and year, but at this point it has printed separately. Okay, rather than printing as a tuple. So basically, if you want to extract the corresponding variables, then you can extract all of them, or you can store all of them separately instead of putting it in the form of a tuple. Okay.